All right. Are we live? All right, we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another live trading stream. Before we get started, just want to give you guys a reminder, August 26th, our last and final master class to learn the strategy that we trade every morning here on the YouTube streams. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you guys enjoy the stream. And if you don't enjoy the stream, probably something wrong with you. All right. So the purpose of these streams, live trading, going over market analysis, fundamentals, data, whatever economic releases or data releases are coming out, we can look through those together. Maybe I can provide some clarity because of my experience in institutional finance. Now, it's not a chart addicts trading stream if I don't hit the I told you so. So instead of me going to a bunch of screenshots, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to go to yesterday's stream. Okay. Just because the I told you so is important. Okay. So yesterday, I said that I have a meeting and I was in a rush and that I was going to come back and hit you guys with the I told you so. So let's do that real quick because this is the I told you so that I promised you. And I'm here to deliver because I'm a man of my word. Hold on. Mind the majority of people buy their tickets. So here we go. So we're sitting in drawdown on this trade, right? This is yesterday. We're sitting in drawdown. Everyone's like, Roy, I think the market's going to keep going up, right? You guys know how the comment section
Please use
gets.
proper risk management. For guys, I don't do Ivy League schools.
All right. But I got a little arrogant and I was like, look, I know we're in drawdown, but just watch. I'm going to come back after this meeting and hit the I told you so when the market crashes and everyone's going to be like, ah, da, da. And then I also made y'all a deal that if this trade hits, you got to buy the masterclass. And so let's see if what I said right before we got off.
Trust the system, people. Oh, I got a meeting in 2 minutes. People, trust the system. All right. This thing is I'm gonna come back for the I told you so. All right, bear with me. I'm gonna finish this meeting. I'm gonna come back with the I told you so. Please use proper risk management.
That happened, right? And so then let's look at what actually transpired. Wow. Look at that beautiful sell from the top of the range. Top of the range right here. Where was price at? 19,213, 213. Where's 19,213? Right there. This is where price was right here when we were talking. All right, we had a beautiful sell-off right after, and then we had a beautiful Triadics members. I'm gonna start rounding for the YouTube stream, okay? So I'm just gonna say 90%, okay? Just go ahead and bear with me here. We got a 90% correction all the way back up to the top, and then we had price milk back down. Now, the only sad part about this is missed the buy entry by few points. By a few, it's about 20. But that trade did also play out straight to our upside target. So you guys can see that we had a sell position lined up, and then we had a buy position right after. This was the exact trade that we were watching yesterday on the stream. And then just to kind of hammer this thing home with the before and after screenshot that I posted. Okay, this was the trade idea. Sell down, push up, and then crash. And that's exactly what we had. We had the sell down, push up, and then crash. Accuracy on point, risk management and trade management on point, R&R on point, win rate on point. And it's better to miss a trade than chase a trade. And so I did not chase this upside push. Waited for the retest. That thing just crashed right through the zone. So no rejection, no entry. And now we're sort of looking at a higher time frame potential trade. I said higher time frame, and now I'm on the 5 minute. Bear with me, people. Okay. Here we go. So this would be the trade if we get a rejection, which I'm not sure that we will. So if we get a rejection back above this buy zone, then we can just kind of scalp this or intraday trade this thing back up for the retest. If this thing crashes straight through, then just like I was explaining before the call started, the market will crash below the lows, retrace back up to that buy entry that we're looking for, and then use that as the resistance for the next move. All right, so right now, I'm basically just waiting for price to either jump through the lows, okay, in which case then I'll just set my alerts and wait for the retest. Or I'm waiting for price to reject back above my buy zone, reject and respect, so we can take this thing back up inside the range. And I mean, we're getting a little bit of a rejection, but NASDAQ sellers are very aggressive right now. So we're going to have to see a pretty good rejection or a convincing rejection in order to play this trade. But yeah, that was the I told you so. Came back, man of my word, and now we're here. He predicted lower high and then lower low, damn near past my evaluations, but I bitched out and closed early. Hey man, that's what this is the part of trading that no one wants to talk about is the experience. It's not about the experience of learning how the market works. Like you pretty much get that in the masterclass. You get that in 4 or 5 days. And then obviously maybe 30 days after you got to work your way in. But like every time that you're moving up a level in trading and you're risking more than you have risked in the past, you're going to be confronted with some new challenges. You're going to see that money piling up and you're going to see it just adding and adding up and adding up. And then you're going to start to contextualize it in terms of things that you can buy in your life, right? I just filled up, I just changed my tires 2 days ago and now you're floating profits and you're like, that's more than I paid for the tires. Like if I close this, it pays for the tires. But now it's like the tires ain't got nothing to do with this trade. It's not a TP1. It's not even halfway there. The risk and reward has not, you got to wait for the math to make sense. If you're closing trades early and you're going to end up getting a negative risk and reward, a couple losses or a losing streak is going to eat up all your profits. And so if you're not very conscious about like not holding the trade because you're trying to be stronger and like you got more patience or whatever, but just because the strategy demands a minimum of a 1.2 to 1 R or a 1.1 to 1 R. So if you're doing less than that, it'll never add up and you'll never be profitable. Maybe for a couple of weeks where like you hit a winning streak, but not on a long-term basis. So risk and reward is more important than just maximizing your profits or minimizing your risk. It's about profitability. If the math don't make sense, you don't make dollars. Okay? Okay, if you haven't gotten your tickets to the masterclass, do it. I'm sitting on $16,000 in payout requests this month from Apex, from this system. Invest in yourself. Jensen, you want to talk about it, man? What do you feel like makes this strategy so effective? Without going into too much detail. Is it the execution? Is it the actual technical strategy? Is it the 80? Is it the 10 rules? Is it the 86? Is it the just having a system and a holistic approach? What do you feel like makes it so effective?
So it's a little bit of all of it, man. It is the perfect structure to give you, a trapped set of levels to play within and the perfect entry most of the time within those levels. Executing on time, getting out, not being greedy, pretty much everything you've taught us. You follow those rules and you can bring it down to a micro scale. If your profit target for the day is like mine, only $250, you're in, you're out, you know when to get in, when to get out, and you're done, man. You're making money.
A lot of people have trouble walking away, and Jensen, that was really well said. A lot of people have trouble walking away because the strategy is so simple. You kind of feel like, well, I can kind of stick around and keep milking this thing or whatever. Why do you feel like it's so easy for you to walk away? Is it because you have so many accounts kind of stacked, and so you're like, yeah, your profit target is 250, but when you add the accounts, it's easier to walk away? Or is it because you trust the system or you trust yourself? What do you feel like is helping you there?
I trust the system. I do not trust myself. So when you set these 10-day payout rules, and you hit your number for the day, why are you staying around? You've done your job. You don't, like you said, you don't clock out from your job and turn around and clock back in just because you're bored. Like, get the hell out of it.
Good man. Bro, I'm so proud of you, bro. He said, I trust the markets, I just don't trust myself. That is the perspective of a profitable trader, people. We know, like, as we're human, yo. We all are susceptible to make mistakes. And so you have to build a system that protects you from you. And as long as you understand that and you're like, yeah, I am the problem in this scenario, and that's why I have to follow my rules. Not because I can't read the markets, but because the longer I'm on the charts or the more losses I accumulate, the worse my decisions making is going to be, or whatever, your deal is. So knowing that we're all fallible, knowing that we're human, and having the humility to build a system that protects you from you, that was the shift for me personally. And I feel like that's what I try to get across in the class. Now, we've had some feedback from the class. People say we spent too much time on the mindset and risk management. Those are the same folks that blew the accounts. All right. You have to prioritize that stuff, or it's going to be a tough road. $16,000 in payouts in a month, people. Shout out to Apex, man. Good stuff. Yeah. Sellers are going to continue to have this thing, yo. I think we might consolidate. Maybe come back up here to reject. And then continue dropping. So market's already gone. No trades for me today. Just wanted to hop on here and talk fundamentals, talk some of the big news events. We had the JOLTS jobs openings report drop today. We have the Fed meeting tomorrow, obviously, which we will be streaming live as usual. But we also had a few more things. I actually want to do like a live reaction to some of these things that I've been watching. Has anybody here put a 1 in the chat if you guys have been keeping up with the House Judiciary Committee on the Trump assassination? It's these subcommittees in the Senate and the House that are basically doing the investigations. They're the ones who subpoenaed the head of the Secret Service before she resigned, and they were grilling her. They're the ones who subpoenaed the head of the FBI, Christopher Wray, and tried to get some answers. To be honest, Christopher Wray gets such a bad rap because the FBI has obviously been colluding against Donald Trump for a while. And so it kind of doesn't make sense. He was appointed by Trump, but now, that's the same entity that showed up to his house with armed guns just because of some documents. And but his performance at the House Judiciary Committee hearing was honestly top notch. Gave me a lot of confidence. Answered questions, unlike Director Cheadle or former Director Cheadle from the Secret Service. And I actually feel like we got a pretty good grip on what happened here. There is no way, like, okay, here's the conclusion. I think that everyone is kind of on the same page about the Trump thing. This is either the biggest case of incompetence that the intelligence community has ever seen in its entire lifetime, or there's something shady going on. All right, put 1 for something shady, put 2 if you think this is we literally have gotten to the point where people are this bad at their fucking jobs that even the highest and most protected service organization in the world fucked up. And they don't fuck up, y'all. This is like an airline pilot. It's like if you work at a call center and you pick up the call and then you call somebody by the wrong name and they hang up, like, I promise you, the company's not going to burn down. Imagine that airline pilot fucks up, right? Yeah, there's some jobs where you can't fuck up. There's some jobs like heart surgery, can't fuck up. Secret Service protecting the president, can't fuck up. There is no leniency, there's none of that. So let me know what you guys think in the chats here. Some of you guys that are blown, there's no trades, you're about to get off, do your thing. But also, you're going to miss out on tons of value, right? So it's your loss. They all should get charged with treason. See, no, because we got to find out. We got to find out, man. If it's the DEI thing, and we genuinely have started to hire people for political reasons as opposed to, competence reasons, then we need to basically remove every single head of all these organizations from the top, starting today, and start from scratch. The Vivek Ramaswamy approach, the Milei approach from Argentina. Afuera. Right? Because if Director Cheadle had lowered the standards to the point where there are people hired there that, look, they said it's a hot day and the guys were inside the building, not on top of the building. And like, if you're hiring people that don't give a fuck about their job and they're not dead serious about their job, they'll let shit slide, right? You know what, guys? Yeah, we got a good vantage point here. Local is going to take care of it, whatever. Those are not the people that need to be hired for these kinds of roles. It's got to be that one militant dude or that one militant lady or whoever the fuck it is that is capable, that is checking under every fucking rock, right? If the wind blows and a leaf moves, they got to know about it. Those are the people that have been protecting the president this whole time up until that event. And there's, the shadiness adds up. So here's something I wanted to show you guys and kind of do a live reaction with y'all, which is the sniper team from, what was it? The local Pennsylvania sniper team that was supposed to be coordinating with the Secret Service did some kind of interview here. Pennsylvania sniper team. They hid the full interview, obviously, because these guys were talking too much and they were saying too many true things. But you got to see what these guys said about all the failures that happened that day that were just like, it's incomprehensible. It can't be that no one could be that incompetent. So it has to be malicious. This is how I'm reading this.
News exclusive on the assassination attempt on former President Trump. For the first time, we're hearing
by 5-4
local snipers that were
shooter.
between the locals.
Those of the shooter.
We had a text group.
So what you guys are looking at here, just because to provide some context, the officers that were supposed to be on top of the roof are inside the building. And the only vantage window that they have is a small little window like they're looking at here. They see this shady ass kid with a range finder. Range finder helps you basically track distances in golf or other sports. But sketchy ass kid outside of the number one easiest kind of like spot to shoot from with a fucking rangefinder about half an hour before the shooting started. You guys understand me? How the fuck do you not? How don't you call off the speech? How don't you get Trump off the stage and not have him come up? How doesn't the Secret Service find this dude? Apparently, the police that were inside the building left the building to go search for him. Couldn't find him, left the building abandoned, and the whole time the kid just climbed on the roof and was just sitting there the whole time. None of that fucking makes sense.
Group between the local snipers that were on scene. I had sent those pictures out to that group and advised them of what I noticed and what I'd seen.
What do you think is transpiring once you send in what you've sent in?
I assumed that there would be somebody coming out to, speak with this individual or, find out what's going on.
So how do you know if Greg's concerns about crooks are being relayed properly?
We don't. We have to assume that when he put that information out to command, that command took that information and did something with it. We don't know if they did.
None of the concerns appears to have reached members of Trump's Secret Service detail.
Like, yo, they spotted him, took a fucking picture, took a Snapchat video of this kid, sent it to the fucking group chat saying, yo, sus ass kid with rangefinder out here. We should snag him. And the Secret Service didn't even hear about it. They didn't have a communications channel. Now, these guys are going to mention something else, which is every time that Secret Service is running a point on any detail, they do a briefing with the other snipers, the local snipers. This is a mandatory, you don't even think about it, right? It's like opening up your trading platform before you open a trade. It's like, that is, of course, you're going to do that. There was no briefing between Secret Service and the local teams. That's why there was a lack of communications. They don't have a central communication channel where they're all on the same page. And so it just keeps getting shadier. Like, this is not a B grade. Like, Fauci has Secret Service. John Bolton has Secret Service. Those folks are no longer in office. You understand me? Like, they are not, they have no constitutional authority at all. Trump doesn't have constitutional authority, but as the primary nominee, he does. Right? So he should have gotten the best of the best security, did not. Jill Biden, they were talking about this. She had 13 extra security details from the Secret Service that day. Same day. She has no constitutional authority either. She's not the VP. She's the first lady. She's not in line, fifth in line, seventh in line if something happens to Joe. No. y'all get where I'm going with this? How does she have 13 extra detail and they only gave Trump 2 in the middle of this random, field, like a sitting duck? Shit is crazy.
The Washington Post reports they've complained they were never made aware of the warnings. In their first public comments about the assassination attempt, members of the Beaver County SWAT team described to ABC News what they consider to be failures of planning and communication that would prove catastrophic.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
No, not until after the shooting, I believe. Yeah.
See, what the fuck does that mean? What is that? Yo, let me tell you guys how good Secret Service is. All right. I used to work on Capitol Hill in Congress for a couple of congressmen. One of the congressmen went to go to use one of the bathrooms in the hallway. He didn't want to use the one in his office, right? Obviously, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? They want to blow up the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? That was the real terror threat. You know what I mean? And so he left his lunchbox right outside the door. If you leave an unattended bag in the Capitol, they shut down the whole wing. They evacuated every single person, bomb-sniffing dogs. They had Secret Service pull up. They had Capitol Police pull up. This was obviously a lunchbox, and it was a congressman's lunchbox. And people saw him walk in there, vouch for it, and it does not matter. It's that level of security. President was coming to meet with, who was the speaker at the time when I was up there? Paul Ryan, right? And there's kind of the tunnel systems under the Capitol between the library and whatnot. And so they were bringing the president over. Secret Service was there days in advance. And this is the fucking Capitol. You understand? They were sweeping, they were making sure that the perimeter is clear. There was a few cars parked 7 blocks away from the White House. And they shut down the entire operation for 2 hours until they can clear that car out. They are that meticulous. Nothing is supposed to get through. So all these mistakes where the sniper team for the Secret Service did not have communications with the local sniper team at all on that day for the entire day until someone got shot. The fuck does that even mean? Can y'all explain that to me?
And by then,
It was too late.
the Secret Service declined to respond directly, but told ABC News the agency is committed to better understand and is offering complete cooperation with ongoing investigations.
The suspect is directly above us.
Members of the Beaver County SWAT team rushed to the shooter's rooftop.
There's a ladder right here.
As seen in footage from Rich Gianvito's helmet camera.
Yep.
So we had access through that ladder, got up onto the roof.
And as you're scrambling onto that roof, you don't know for sure whether he's dead or alive or whether you'll encounter fire.
At that point, no.
So what are you prepared? Are you prepared for a firefight at that point?
But we're prepared for anything at that point because at this time we're unsure.
Give me a solid perimeter.
But first off, God bless these people. But he said, so were you, you didn't know what was going to be on that roof. If he was dead, alive, were you ready for a gunfight? But he said, we're ready for whatever. You don't know what's going to be up there. Those, thank God that people like that exist, y'all. Because I don't know if I'm going up there. I said, oh, dude up there with a gun, let me get to a different location, right? I'm not going to go up there face to face. Maybe I don't know how I'm going to react in that situation. So these guys are the best of us, man. Talking about they didn't have any coordination. Something about this is really not adding up.
Get guys prepped. Clear the building.
He encountered the shooter's bloodied body some 400 feet from the stage. The team believes it did everything it could have to thwart the attack, but accepts its share of failure.
I think we all failed that day.
Also,
Life is lost.
Yeah. People died.
And that is how you answer these questions. Not direct, Secret Service Director Cheadle, was this a massive mistake? She's like, well, it could have been handled better, whatever. He's like, no, we all fucked up that day, even though this is the local team, right? The primary detail is always the Secret Service. They're the ones who take lead. And so technically responsibility is on Secret Service, but these guys are real. They really do this shit. And they really care about their job. And they're like, yo, we all fucked up. But then again, I also hold them responsible because how do you not raise concerns that there's no briefing? I talked to a few law enforcement officials, and they were telling me if for some reason Your chain of command did not bring it up, and then you guys didn't have a briefing. You're supposed to bring it up to the chain of command. And if they ignore it, you go one step higher. And if that doesn't happen, then you have to go one step higher. So none of these guys brought it up. I don't know, man. So I heard they knew in advance. Yeah, that's what we just saw. Like they had what's it called? They had pictures of the guy standing right outside of the building where the guy was on the roof, and he was downstairs at the time. And the officers were inside snapping a picture out this little ass window that they were looking out of, and he had a rangefinder in his hand. They texted the threat to the fucking Secret Service and to the group chat, and nothing happened. So I don't know. How'd the ladder get there? Well, the ladder that he bought the morning of, apparently he never used. It was found in a different location, but there was another ladder that was way taller that was already there. Yep. So I want to show you guys the Director Ray hearing. I want to show you guys some of the highlights here, because this is, you got to know what's happening in the country. I know this is not directly market related. We got the Fed meeting tomorrow. Markets are crashing. Tomorrow there's going to be bad news. The markets are going to crash a little bit and kind of just drive a lot of selling pressure. And then institutional buyers are going to step in at a discount and sweep up all that selling liquidity. All right. So if you're sitting out here saying, what does this have to do with markets? You're welcome. Markets ain't that complicated. All right. As we can see. But what's happening in the world, very complicated. And what's happening in America, even more complicated. This, it's not even complicated. It's just dangerous where we're headed, y'all. 15 million people undocumented in the country. I'm willing to bet 14,999,999 of them are absolute angels and Mother Teresa. But if one of them ain't, we got a pretty fucked up next 3-4 years. All right. And this is kind of the way that things are headed. And so this is just one of many. And I think the country is just tired of all the, like, UK government can just get away with anything, kill anybody, whatever, and we never hear about it, and they sweep it under the rug, and Epstein's files are still not released, and we still don't fucking know what happened there. I think everybody's just tired of this shit, and that's why these hearings are so important. You got to know, what are we really doing about this shit? Is anybody actually stepping up to the plate and putting their life on the line and trying to get answers for this stuff? And the truth is, for the first time in probably 4 or 5 years, yeah, we're seeing real people step up and demand solutions and answers and transparency and shit. So I think we're headed in a bit of a better direction, y'all. What do you think? UK is not better. Some migrants stabbed a bunch of small girls a few days ago. The UK fucked up so bad. They tried to, do Brexit in order to leave the European Union, but their politics, their economics were able to, kind of stay away long enough, but their politics did not. And this is what happens, man. This is what happens. All right. But if y'all are interested in the masterclass, by the way, if you guys saw the trades from yesterday and you're absolutely blown away, I know I got a lot of competition on YouTube nowadays. A lot of traders are saying they can call trades left and right, and everybody can call trades now. So I had to call three in a row. I had to give you guys a 3-1 just to even get the credit, just to even get my name in the conversation, right? It was tough. This is what the market looked like yesterday on that stream. Incredible. And now, massive sell-off. Beautiful stuff. Wanted that buy entry so badly, but did not get it. Did I take the paper trade? Yeah, the paper trade got taken. And I think I took 2 paper trades yesterday. I got to make sure that they're still running. UJ might be in drawdown. Yeah, the dollar is seeing a massive pullback. But I think these were the shorts. This was like the paper trade from yesterday's shorts. Average price 194, closed at 136. Average price 171, closed at 93. Not bad. But that UJ trade though, ugh. That one just completely reversed. Despite the dollar index turning back up. All right, so maybe UJ is just in a bit of a retracement before we see the next pop. All right, so we were in profits, pushed back above the zone, everything was great. And now it's coming back for a retracement, which honestly is not a big deal. There's still a chance. If you guys look at the body of this low right here, Okay, you can see the body of these candles all closing above. And even though we have these wick rejections kind of hitting the double bottoms, as long as structurally you're creating a higher support, a higher floor, a higher low, and that's judged by the body of the candles, not the wick, then technically the trend is still intact. And so there's still a chance that this thing is just retesting and pushing back up. UJ, still got some hope here. Gold. What do we have here? What were we looking at the other day? Oh, the inverse head and shoulders. Oh, this was a nice trade. The market was rejecting right here. Just pushed right up to this fib. Did not make it to the top of the range though. Ended up sweeping back under, creating a higher floor, and another higher floor here. So if price holds this 23.88, this could actually be a pretty good entry price. We might have a little bit more room to retrace first before that happens. I could see that. If we hold this support and then break back above and start to create a new floor, this is going to be the entry. But I could actually see price pushing to 23.81 first. All right, so you guys can think, here's this impulse, correct that move, and then continue to the upside. 23.81. The day before a Fed meeting is the last day that I would trade gold personally, but I also don't trade gold. So I'm gonna leave that one for you guys. That one not as clear to me. Bitcoin finally coming back down. Nothing significant, but I do want to see this thing push down below the 50s. I said it yesterday that even though the news was extremely bullish in the short term, when we were watching the Bitcoin conference, institutions always use media hype as a chance to sell out of profitable positions. Because normally you can't just sell a big part of your position without spooking the market or causing an adverse reaction. Or you might not even have enough liquidity on the other side. So what you got to do is you can use the media hype because there's a lot of people trying to buy Bitcoin on these exchanges to then sell 100 million or 200 million of Bitcoin. And so that's why, the price being this high kind of started to get retail thinking, oh, it's going to break above. Institutions are going to see this as a chance to potentially take profits and then buy back at the bottoms once retail is basically scared out. But let me show you the Christopher Wray hearing, and let's go through this real quick. Nice. Yeah, stay on the 1 hour when you're looking at this range. It'll make your life so much easier. Okay. Who asked him some good questions? This guy, Nadler, Representative Nadler, bum. I don't even want to be disrespectful, but Matt Gaetz worried about himself. Who asked a good question? Jim Jordan is the only one that asks good questions anymore. But Jim Jordan's also smart enough to know not to piss off the FBI director. Because just like Nadler said, or just like Schumer said, if you piss off the intelligence community, they have 6 ways till Sunday to get back at you. Yeah, that should be scary to every American to hear. I mean, even though we all know this. Let's see, 6 days ago, what? I hate these like short clippy things because they're just all taken out of context. But 5 minutes, maybe we can get enough context here.
The bishop was. Tell me about the drone. You act like you wanted to fill us in on that. Fill us in.
So we have recovered a drone.
And just so you guys know, this is the head of the FBI currently, Christopher Wray. He was appointed by Trump, if I'm not mistaken, but he's also the head of the organization that's been basically they've been doing a lot of shady stuff the past 3 years, and they've been politicized. And in this hearing, I found out something I never knew before. I thought the FBI was an independent agency that reported directly to the president. Turns out, no. They do report to the president, but their direct chain of command is the attorney general, if I'm not mistaken, the assistant attorney general and the attorney general, which is Merrick Garland, one of the most corrupt people in America today. And that is because Merrick Garland hates Trump. He's been leading a lot of the investigations against Trump, the documents case in Florida, the kind of like a lot of the indictments that were federal crimes that they're trying to prosecute in state courts in New York. He's been behind all of that. So you're telling me the FBI, one of the most prestigious organizations in America, is beholden to a corrupt Justice Department under Merrick Garland? Sus. Okay, so that's a little background here on Christopher Wray, and let's see what he says about this potential drone being flown
that the
around.
shooter appears to have used. It's being exploited and analyzed by the FBI lab. The drone was recovered in his vehicle. So at the time of the shooting, the drone was in his vehicle with the controller. In addition, our investigation has uncovered.
Do you know what time of day he flew it, and if he flew it on the day of the shot?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so in addition, it appears that around 3:50 PM, 4 o'clock in that window, on the day of the shooting, that the shooter was flying the drone around the area. For about 11 minutes. I want to be clear, but when I say the area, not over the stage and that part of the area itself. I would say about 200 yards, give or take, away from that. We think, but we do not know. So again, this is one of these things that's qualified because of our ongoing review, that he was live streaming, viewing the footage from that, again, about 11 minutes and around the 3:50, 4 o'clock PM range.
2 hours before he's flying a drone in the vicinity of the route.
About 200 yards away. Yes.
200 yards. Okay, that's important information. What about the bombs that we've heard about in the shooter's car?
So again, the FBI lab is exploiting those explosive devices.
Yep.
We've recovered 3 devices, 2 in his vehicle and 1 back in his residence.
Are these what you would call, your experts would call sophisticated operations, or I don't know. I that's what I've been told by people who have some understanding of this area.
Yeah, I think it's, we've seen more sophisticated and less. I would say these are relatively, again, keyword relatively crude devices themselves, but they did have the ability to be detonated remotely. And so to that point, in addition to the 2 devices that we recovered out of his vehicle, there were receivers for those 2 explosive devices with the devices, and then on the shooter himself.
Look, I don't want to get conspiratorial, but I don't know if you guys know who Alex Jones is. Alex Jones is, no matter what you think about him and the one incident that he was involved with and the media tried to basically, this man has predicted damn near every catastrophe over the last 20 years to the T. And he was saying that the next kind of phase from assassination attempt is going to be like explosive trucks and stuff like that. I'm not trying to put the tinfoil hat on, but when you think about that, this kid, after the investigation started, they found a truck full of explosives with a remote detonation device that, even though it wasn't going to reach, from what they say, they're like, yeah, it wouldn't have triggered it. The fact that that was even a thing and that was part of the plan is horrifying, because y'all know Trump ain't about to stop doing campaign tours. So this is something that they got to get to the bottom of. I don't know if Congress is in recess. July oversight hearing. This is July 22nd, 26, 27, 28. So the parts in dark gray are the days that they're actually in session. The rest of the time, they ain't in office. And so they did this whole hearing, and then I think that they might be in office today. They postponed a hearing entitled "The Fall of ESG: Scrutinizing the Failed Environmental, Social, and Government Standards and the Influence of Proxy Advisors." All right. Kitchen table economics. What the fuck are we talking about here? Decoding DeFi, breaking down the future of decentralized finance. Okay, at least they're doing some. Committee on Oversight and Accountability and Committee on Financial Services. Nothing about the Trump here. Oversight of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, House Judiciary. 724. So the last time that we got anything was 6 days ago. And then we had to get the sniper team to come out and give us some more news. Oh, 6 days is a long time, man. How y'all ain't figured this out yet? I had an ex one time, bro. She'd have solved this 5 times over. If you told her the shooter was somebody I was talking to, bro, she would have figured that out quick. She'd have been on LinkedIn, all types of Twitter. She'd have been on Reddit, bro, all of it. She'd have been on Pinterest, motherfucker. She'd have solved this shit already, bro. Fire Christopher Wray and put my ex in that spot, bro. She could have found Osama. She could have fucking. All right, just jokes. Okay. Well. What else? He said they're like that. I'm joking. Never had a crazy ex like that. Thank God. Would never have judgment that poor, if God willing. You know what I'm saying? You gotta pick up on the signs, people. You gotta pick up on the red flags, right?
Never had a Latina.
But I have. But you gotta pick up on the red flags, brother. You gotta be able to. You gotta find the exit, the nearest exit in case of emergencies. You gotta find that one quick. All right. Don't get lost in the sauce, fellas. Rule number 1. I'm being for real. You gotta keep your eye out for the signs, man. Shit is treacherous out here. Okay. Let's see what we got. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you guys are watching this. Quick reminder, the FX Summit 2024 conference is coming up quick. We got about 4 months left. Make sure to grab your tickets. We have a crazy idea going on where if you guys are traveling from somewhere very far, very, very far, you send us a picture of your ticket, your flight ticket. We'll deduct that from your VIP ticket price. And if you already got your ticket, then we'll upgrade you potentially to another ticket tier. And I think that's going to be something that's a really great idea that we can start to put together here. So excited for this. I know traveling all the way to Dubai is a stretch for a lot of folks, but hopefully if you don't have to worry about if your ticket price can get deducted from your VIP ticket and you guys can still come out from all over the world, we're going to do our absolute best to make sure you guys can come out and see us. All right. This event is beyond what we imagined. The level of talent and the level of institutional insight that we're going to have at this event is going to be unlike anything we've seen before. So I want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for everyone to come. And this is going to be that first step. Said if y'all do right, you wouldn't have this problem. Christine, it don't matter. You could do everything right and it's never enough. Because when somebody wants that problem, when they just live in drama and they just can't sit still long enough without a problem, they're going to find one. And that's why it's important. Make the right choices early. All right. That's food for thought from your Uncle Roy, everybody. Just make sure you make the right choices. There's only 3 decisions that matter in life. Like 3 real consequential decisions. What you commit your life to, your purpose, who you commit your life to, your partner, and the people you surround yourself with. Right? The relationships you have, the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and the purpose that you commit your existence to. Everything else you can kind of bullshit your way through it, right? You can kind of make an okay decision. You can skip out on some due diligence, right? But when it comes to those top 3, man, you gotta lock in. Okay. Yeah, people came here to the trading streams to get relationship advice. You know what? Dr. Phil. Dr. Wick Phil. That's great. That's how I feel today. All right, that was corny. Don't laugh at that one. Don't do that. Is Richmond, Virginia considered far? Maurice. Maybe. we got to put out a map because this is a whole different thing. Now we got to figure out basically like where the lines are drawn. Chef Roy RD with the sauce. What's up, Ray? Chef Roy RD, but we all really do pay attention. Sometimes I'm like, bro, I wonder if people actually pay attention. And Josh McGinnis hit me with the almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. I'm waiting for y'all to pick up on the this is not rocket surgery. I'm waiting for someone to ask one day. They'll be like, what the fuck is rocket surgery? But it's hard. It's like the combination of brain surgery and rocket science. It's like two hard things. It's like, wow, this is not rocket surgery, bro. Fucking, I used to do CrossFit. I had a CrossFit coach. He would say that shit all the time. I'm like, coach, should I do I do the cleans first or do I go and do the push-ups first? He was like, bro, this is not rocket surgery, man. Pick that shit up and go put it over there. I was like, oh, all right, got it. You know, that's where that came from. Okay, back to the serious topics. You know, this is all jokes, right? Everything we say is satire here. Nothing is serious or to be taken in any literal sense at all. Love my life. Biden's great. Jehovah Jab is amazing. All right, and I love you too. Miami is very far, Walter. It is. It's a 16-hour flight, so we're gonna make it work. If you're traveling from like Eastern Europe or closer, I think we're good. If you're traveling from the Indian subcontinent, we're not gonna do that. Actually, I mean, who knows, man? We'll still do it. We might only be able to do it for, let's say, like the first or the next 100 VIP tickets, because then we're almost out of VIP tickets. After this next 100, where we're going to be offering this, the last 100 is basically going to be sold out. There are about 200 VIP spots left. 4 months, yeah. This next 100 is going to be the wave. Because a lot of people are going to be traveling from around the world, and we've already got emails left and right saying like it's a commitment to go out there. So we're going to try to do our best to make sure folks can do it. Guess not too much impact on the markets. There's nothing. The riots in Venezuela, I do want to send out a prayer to Venezuela for real. And I want to send out a prayer to Venezuela and Lebanon. Man, it's tough. So in case you guys don't know what's happening in Venezuela, they've been under a dictatorship with dictator Maduro for a while. There was this like sham election that happened, and somehow Maduro won. There's been protests all over the country. People are very tired of the dictatorial rule. The armed forces have been like, there's talks about the armed forces basically doing a coup and basically taking back the country, whatever. And there's some violence that's ensued. Venezuela is not a country that's too well off. And so whenever you have instability, it just gets that much worse. The president of Argentina, Milei, said they're not going to recognize the Venezuelan election results under Maduro. And he basically put out a public statement saying that I want to be very careful with my words. No, I'm going to just say it. He's like, the armed forces should basically sack up and take the country back. And people are tired of this dictatorial bullshit. Commies will not win. This is what happens with communists, man. As soon as everybody realizes the ideas fucking suck and everybody's poor and nobody has money and there's no more opportunity in the country because all the handouts have been taken by the government and they get to tell you when you eat and when you get the money. And when people are tired of it, it kind of goes from the full socialism over to full communism. And I guess if Maduro does not want to leave office under a sham election, maybe it's some form of totalitarianism. We'll see. So yeah, Venezuela, instability, not good. They got to figure that out. Guarantee the CIA is already on it. Okay, so regime change underway. We'll see. Or if there's no regime change, then we know we know who they want in there, I've been saying I love my life and I'd never kill myself, right? Did I mention that part? Okay. All right. But he said I should do a podcast on controversial topics. You are out of your mind, brother. But all I do is get on here for free and make people money. I do podcasts where I bring out the best in some of the best minds in finance. We don't charge for any of that. The very little we do charge for is worth way more than what we charge for. And then we've been doing this for so many years. And I still get people trying to drag me all day. All right? And these are like losers with nothing to do on social media. No life, no girlfriend, nothing. Imagine I start talking about shit that actually matters, brother. Lord have mercy. You understand? They would Family, leave me alone. All right. I want my peace. Seems like report earnings were really bad. Nvidia's down 6.5%. Well, that's the whole tech sector is now going through a big retracement, Mike. This is what we were saying on Sunday. We are in a retracement cycle because the market got way too overvalued. All the tech stocks were way too hot, even though they had no products in the market that could actually recoup that money. You can't spend 100 billion a year on R&D for AI and not have a product on market that's going to recoup that. Okay, so I think this AI bubble kind of burst. There's too much money sloshing around in the capital markets that has no home right now. Right? There's nowhere to really put this money. Crypto markets are at highs, so you can't really dump money there. Stock markets are at highs, and they're just trying to find anywhere to put it. And so as soon as the AI bubble kind of started, all the venture capital money, all the private equity money, all the capital allocators started to invest in technology stocks that were, working on anything AI related. Nvidia saw the biggest rise, of course, but even Google, Meta, Microsoft, Apple, everyone saw a big jump. Now that the world's rebalancing, Trump is coming back. Real industries are going to exist in America again for like the first time in 4 or 5 years, where we're going to bring manufacturing back and like real physical businesses that have cash flow that boost GDP, jobs, and employment, not just capital market allocation. I think the capital markets are like, let me take all my money, not all, but let me take some money off the table since I'm in profits on all these longer term bets in technology. And let me go put it into more cyclical or industrial or banking or anything except for these long-term stocks. And that's why I think that we're seeing a big rebalancing. It's like a portfolio rebalancing where you shave some profits off the positions that are winning a lot, and then you go look for undervalued opportunities. Does that make sense? Does the idea of portfolio rebalancing make sense based on risk sentiment in the markets? It's not just risk sentiment, but also where we are in the market cycle. So when everyone has money and everyone's rich and you feel like it's just going to keep going and the music's going to keep playing, you bet on things long term, like Bitcoin or like tech stocks or like AI. But now when you need money right now and those stocks have been doing well, you're going to shave some money off and be like, all right, let me go put it into stuff like, like Charmin toilet paper stocks and Colgate and stuff that people are going to use no matter what the economy does in 4 or 5 months. And so money is going to the sidelines. And yeah, I just feel like there's that rebalancing is happening in real time. So number one thing is like a game of 3-card Monte or whatever that cup game is that they play in New York where they finesse people. Keep your eye on the money. Hashtag FTM, hashtag follow the money.
By law enforcement. He had a transmitter with him. Now, I do want to add one important point here is at the moment, it looks to us, again, ongoing review, and I can't say that too many times. At a moment, it looks.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Was the shooter on the FBI's radar in any way prior to the assassination attempt?
We did not have any information about the shooter. He was not in our holdings before the shooting.
No communication in any chat rooms, no CIs or confidential human sources have any interaction with?
No, we've run a thorough search for the subject through all of our holdings, and he was not in them anywhere.
Were there any FBI agents or informants present at the Trump rally in Butler?
Not to my knowledge.
And Mr. Jordan was talking to you about Iran. Were law enforcement resources diverted from the protection of President Trump to John Bolton as a consequence of concern that Mr. Bolton might have been the target of Iranian malign efforts?
That's really a Secret Service decision. I don't know the answer to that. That's really something they would know better. What I can tell you is that there are a number of individuals. You mentioned one who we've brought a case, a specific criminal case for the Iranians targeting for assassination. But how
are you gonna get that answer to us? Whether or not resources were diverted from Trump to Bolton? Is that just going to be part of your review?
I think that's going to be part of the reviews by the inspector, the inspector general,
the inspector general for DHS, right?
Of DHS, right. and the outside panel.
I think that's an important point because the inspector general for DHS has really fallen out of favor with the administration because he's been pointing out all the problems on the border.
So DHS is the Department of Homeland Security. They're in charge of securing the border, and the head of the DHS, I believe, is Mayorkas, and he sucks. But the people on the actual border, the ones who are on the ground have constantly been speaking out about the situation on the border, and that's why the Biden-Harris kind of campaign wanted to get rid of him. But yeah, Matt Gaetz just pointed that out. So that he's fallen out of favor with the administration because he's been pointing out all the bullshit happening. And that's true. Not really something that the FBI director is in charge of, but still something to understand that the highest, like the politicians who are at the top, Merrick Garland and Mayorkas, and the people at the head of the DHS, and William Barr, head of the Department of Justice, those are political appointees, and they're politicizing these different organizations. The people working on the ground and the people who are next up and the deputies and all these folks, they see what's happening and they're being more vocal about it, which I think is great for us because now we can actually get information out here again, which is cool.
Mayorkas and Biden, and we're always kind of worried that they're about to fire him, which would be a really bad idea now that this role that you've identified is so critical. Be a bad idea to fire the IG for DHS during the pendency of this, right, Mr. Director?
I don't think that would be a good idea.
I'm with you on that. So I want to zoom out a little bit. How often do you brief President Biden?
Yo, this shocked me completely. This is when I found out that the FBI does not report directly to the president, but instead they're at the behest of the Department of Justice. Okay. Assistant Attorney General. Just look at who's in charge of the country. Okay. This is the people who've been prosecuting Trump. Okay, we got buddy number one, we got thing one, then we got thing two. Merrick Garland. I'll tell you guys right now. You guys know how there was the FBI files or the Twitter files, how they released the collusion between the intelligence community and the private social media companies in order to censor speech. When the Merrick Garland files come out, I don't really know what's under this hood, but when the Merrick Garland files come out, it's going to make that Twitter files look like baby cakes. All right, I don't know what his deal is, but something about him, every time that he testifies in front of Congress, every single thing that he passes, every what is it called, statute or these things inside the Department of Justice that they've been following, these new kind of obscure laws that they're using to try to prosecute Trump, the way that they're weaponizing the justice system against political opponents of Biden, not just Trump, but like any groups or segments that they deem to be, resistance for them, whatever it might be. That's the tip of the iceberg. The weaponization of one of the greatest, the most important agency in our whole country, the most important department, horrible. The rest of the shit he's doing, I don't really know, but I'm waiting for those files. And just, you guys know I have a pretty good predictive analysis. Trust me on that one. I'll come back with the I told you so for that one too. James said flight and hotel booked. James, did you already get a ticket? I'm pretty sure you already got a free ticket, correct? You should have. If you guys were in the masterclass or if you secured the masterclass 1.0, you get a free general admission ticket for signing up to the masterclass. So everybody who's in the Zoom call right now, you guys should all have a free general admission ticket. And if you guys did personal coaching, I think if you had done the ACP coaching, I'm more than positive you get a free VIP ticket. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that that is what we offered. Somebody here can check me. Yeah, Christine, if you already got your ticket and you were supposed to get a free general, you can just reach out to the team. They'll upgrade you. Get the whole squad out there. Roy, do you think they would have fired Kimberly if she had not resigned? 100%. Actually, I don't think the administration would have, because Kamala Harris would have been responsible for that, or Biden. Biden hasn't fired a single person his entire administration. Not one. And there's been so much incompetence when it comes to the border, when it comes to economics, when it comes to public policy, once it comes to homeland security, that he really should have, there really should have been accountability every step of the way. The Afghanistan pullout, there should have been accountability for that. Not a single person got fired for us leaving $100 billion of brand new US equipment to a terrorist group that we've been fighting for 20 fucking years. Like, nobody's going to be accountable for that. Yeah, that's going to happen in the next administration, because we're not done with that one. We did not sacrifice that many US lives, that many years of war, instability in the Middle East, trying to do nation building, spending all that money on military and leaving all the equipment there just to give them $100 billion of brand new equipment, give the country back to the Taliban group, and then abandon that entire nation in the most I would say, dishonorable and disorganized and just shit show of a way possible. So yeah, if he ain't do that, he ain't firing Kimberly Cheatham, okay? And Harris ain't doing it either, right? Women power, that whole shit. They're all trying to push identity politics over meritocracy. And so meritocratically, she had no business being in that job. That's why it was a bipartisan decision to get her fired, right? Left, I had, when was the last time you guys saw in any committee, Democrats and Republicans unanimously agree on anything? Right? The last time was the TikTok ban. That's why I didn't trust it. Whenever they all agree on something, you either fucked up badly or there's something shady going on. Now, because of all the politics, so you can't even get people to agree unanimously unless something is seriously fucked up. And so, yeah, she had no business being in the role. They wouldn't have fired her. And yeah, so thankfully she resigned. But now she resigned. Who's going to take over? And are they going to be an appointee of the president and they're not going to do a full investigation? That's the shit. Like, at least she had enough pressure on her that she was going to have to take the investigation serious. They might fuck around and give us another pandemic. Mike, yeah, man. Mike said that, not me. All right. I love my life and Biden's great. And the jab was awesome. I took 17 of them. All right. Get all of them. Yeah, I mean, look, regardless of what happens, you got to be responsible for yourself, right? What happened last time? Who was the biggest? What populations were the most at risk? Give me the 3 populations that were the most at risk last time around, regardless of how dangerous the actual pandemic was. Just any time that there's a flu season or anything, who are the most at risk? Right, we got elderly, we got comorbidities, and we have a compromised immune. So what do you have to do in your daily life, unless you're dealing with a serious medical ailment? What can you do? Even if you are dealing with serious medical ailment, what is your responsibility? It's to strengthen your body every single day in every single way. That way, no matter what hits next time, you don't have to sit there and panic about catching a cold and that taking you out. Okay. And everyone thinks that it's like, that's not an important piece of it. The biggest causes of death in America are heart disease and diabetes. That's caused by sugar and fucking salt. You understand me? So yes, a lifestyle change would make a big fucking difference. And so that's what I urge everyone here to do. Now, I'm not a medical professional. I don't know shit. This is all satire. Go consult your medical professionals. But I would probably consult a nutritionist and lifestyle expert and those kinds of folks over your GP, because I ain't never had my GP tell me about lifestyle changes before they tried to sell me on some meds. You hear me? Said they're weak. Keep eating McDonald's. It's good for you. Nah, bro. My boy's trying to win the fucking Darwin Awards. He said it's Darwinism. No. Your family needs you to be the best version of you. So stop fucking around. And if this next pandemic hits and you're not ready, you got a bad immune system because you're just out here not exercising, sedentary lifestyle, poor diet, inconsistent sleep, a lack of hydration, improper breathing, just all of it, you know what I'm saying? You're just not taking none of it serious. Then yeah, next time some shit hits, you could be at risk. Or you could do what we did. We flew to Miami, we flew to LA, we tried to find a venue for the summit, pushed it off by a year while everybody else was stuck inside. We were flying around, having to make this thing work. In 2021, we really put our foot on the gas when everyone was still hesitant, started doing events all over the country. And then 2022, we launched the FX Summit. Right on the outset of the pandemic, when we were getting out of it, when everyone was finally back outside, we were ready to go. We had everything in place because we did not cower away. We trusted, ourselves. Now, were we being dumb? Probably, right? The fuck, I'm not a doctor. I don't have an MRI machine. I don't know what the fuck was going on inside, but I do trust my body because I've been through it. How's there some 80-year-olds that made it drinking Coke and McDonald's? Well, that's also another piece of the pie, right? Warren Buffett talked about this a lot in interviews. Like, they told him that he would have died at 78, but he had to eat healthy asparagus the whole nine his entire life, couldn't have the burgers, none of it. Or he could live to 89 or whatever he is right now, but he could eat whatever he could have lived to like 100 eating the asparagus, or he could have died at 78 eating whatever he wanted. He's like, bro, take it. Get done at 78. I'm good. And it's like life ain't fair, brother. You eat healthy your whole life. You out here drinking asparagus water and all that, whatever you're doing, the keto and what, boom. Fucking bit by a dog of rabies. I don't know, right? You don't fucking know. It's a fucked up world. So you got to enjoy your life, but you also got to make sure that you can enjoy your life. So if you're in bed sick and you're immobile, you can't enjoy your life. You make all this money trading and you sacrifice your health, right? And now you're spending all this money on medical bills. That don't make sense, right? It's all fun and games. So, I mean, I used to get sick pretty often as a kid. There's a saying, a healthy man has a million wishes, right? But a sick man only has one. It's like once you're in that spot, man, all you want is just to get healthy again. So that's why you got to take care of yourself and make sure that you're, you know, giving yourself the best chance. If you're a performance car, you got to make sure you're putting the right fuel in there. You're doing the upkeep, or else that thing's going to break down on you. That thing's going to constantly have issues. You guys have smoke coming out the engine and whatnot. You don't want to be that kind of car. All right, get the oil change when you need to. Take care of yourself. Change the tires. Okay, this is an analogy in case you guys aren't following along. Your body, performance car, your Ferrari. All right. Anyways, said asparagus water. Trey, is that you? Trey, is that the Trey Tipton? Ain't no way. Guys, tell me this is Trey Tipton. Is this 4K Trey? In case you gotta know who 4K Trey is, 4K Trey is the one that's edited the majority of your favorite videos on our channel. So we have David Takala, who's edited all the podcasts and anything that is podcast related. But when it comes to those vlog and lifestyle videos, 4K Trey is the shooter. We've been to New York, Atlanta, private jets. Fucking, we did the FX Summit 1, FX Summit 2. He came and stayed at my house for like a month before FX Summit 1. We made a whole, like, he's got back end footage of the whole us, you know, stressing, working, the whole nine. 4K Trey's a legend. If this is 4K Trey, then we have to throw some W's in the chat here. Trey, why are you making me wait so long, bro? You better let us know. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to this.
You mean on this
No, just
specific
general.
case?
No, in your role as FBI director.
I mean, I don't know that I could give you a number.
Is it like weekly, monthly, daily?
It's not at a regular cadence. There have been times when there have been months at a time when I haven't, and then there have been times when several days apart I have. It's always with other people.
The vice president, is she typically there?
Often has been.
Okay, so when did you notice his decline?
In my interactions, in my role, all my interactions with the current president have been completely professional.
Isn't that such a crazy question? It's like, okay, so you work directly with the president. You've been with him for 3 years. Like, when did you notice he was falling off? And you just let this shit happen, ain't tell nobody?
Right, but I mean the cognitive decline. I'm not saying he treated you unprofessionally, just maybe not picking things up as quickly as he used to.
Oh, it's confirmed. That's 4K Trey in the chats. Everybody throw W Trey or W4K Trey in the YouTube chat. Absolute legend. All the favorite videos, the Q Banks call reveal, the Raul house tour, the day in the life vlogs, the FX Summit videos, everything. 4K Trey. Put W4K in the chats.
Again, I don't meet with him very often, but what you're describing is not something that I've observed during my interactions with him.
I mean, we've had it observed so often that the ranking member and Mr. Schiff on this committee have said that he could no longer continue as a candidate. And so since you're the FBI director, I was just sort of wondering, like, who's running the country? If something bad happened, you'd have to go brief President Biden about it right now. God forbid.
And on any number of occasions, I have briefed the president. And as I said, those briefings have all been uneventful and unremarkable.
Oh, I can imagine them being uneventful. But in the work where the vice president's also present, like you say, there's like.
Boom. Inverse head and shoulders for the win. Higher lows. Right at the zone. Yeah, once we break 2,400, we're headed to 2,432. Good catch.
Like more than half the time there's these briefings, she's there too?
I don't know if I said more than half the time. Certainly, there have been times where she's been present. There have been other times where she hasn't.
I take you at your word when you say this is the most complicated threat environment you've ever observed in a long career in law enforcement. And I'm just kind of wondering, with this assassination attempt, with the invasion at our border, with all the Hamas that have been let in that you've talked about and briefed about, like, is Biden up to it? And if he's not up to it, and you're a guy who's been regularly briefing him, like who's been in on this conspiracy to hide the real Joe Biden from all of us for years? It never occurred to you that this guy wasn't up to it in all these briefings you did?
Sheesh.
As I said, my briefings with the president have all been completely fine.
Were they
I
between
briefed,
10 a.m. and
he's
4
asked
p.m.?
questions. There hasn't been anything of note in the area that you're talking about.
Yeah, did you ever have to brief him before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m.? We hear those are as good hours.
I certainly times that I have briefed have included outside those hours.
Right, okay. I just, I think the American people want to know how we got to this point with someone who's so diminished, his own party has basically put him out to pasture. And since you had close proximity and the vice president had close proximity, I'm just kind of wondering if you were being straight with all of us about how things were going with him. I guess we'll have to figure that out.
You can count on me to be straight with you, sir.
We'll see.
Gentlemen,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director Ray, for being here. How many shots did the shooter fire?
Well,
Director,
also devices with the devices, law enforcement from the scene, because those are some of the most significant witnesses, and we're obviously getting access to their materials and that kind of thing. And the Secret
you're
Service
getting
has been
access
fully
to
cooperative.
you have access to the communications that exist there.
That exact question, I don't, as I sit here at the moment, I don't know the exact answer to that question, but I know that Secret Service has been cooperative with us.
The Congress would like access to those communications as well. I mean, not just that 5 minutes, although I think that.
Okay, now we got some new footage, y'all. So the acting Secret Service, the head of the Secret Service director, the former Secret Service director, Cheadle, resigned. Now they have an acting director, which is, what's his name? Ronald Rowe Jr.
Director Rowe, I'm encouraged by your attitude and what you brought here today, what you've talked about as far as immediate changes that you've made, and I hope you'll follow through with that. I'm encouraged by the
this is
fact that
happening
you
live.
acknowledge that it's indefensible.
Oh,
The
yeah.
roof was unattended. Would you say the roof being unattended breaches standard protocol for setting up a security perimeter?
What I would say, Senator, is that that roof should have had better coverage, and we will get to the bottom of if there were any policy violations.
I would think indefensible would go along with breaching protocol, and I can't imagine how indefensible would not be breaching protocol.
This is so stupid how the guy actually just answered the question straight up, which is how Cheadle should have answered it. There was some fuck ups. We're going to find out what happened if there was a breach of protocol, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. And then Rand Paul was like, well, you didn't say it the way I wanted you to say it. And so, like, aren't those two things the same thing? Like, they just want their gotchas. And that's why Rand Paul got cooked by Trump in the last two elections. But he should have just, he should have got off the grill after he got cooked like that. He said, I'm not going to say anything about his looks. And trust me, there's a lot of material there. One of the best lines of all time from a debate at Rand Paul. He said he shouldn't even be on the stage. Cooked him.
What I would caution, though, is that I sense, and you're the Secret Service, and these people are your friends, and they are heroic people who do good things, that we can't let our friendships blind us from responsibility. So someone's in charge of the security at the zone. Would the Secret Service be in charge of the entire operation, and they work with law enforcement, but they're in charge? The person in charge of the entire operation is the Secret Service, not the local police.
You're correct, sir. This is a failure of the Secret Service.
So that's what I mean. And look, I don't wish.
Dude, why wasn't this guy the head of the Secret Service to start with, man? One sentence. This was a massive failure of the Secret Service. This was a massive failure of the Secret Service. 9 words that could have alleviated all the stress in the country right away. And just take some responsibility and then make the necessary adjustments walk through those necessary adjustments and the detail that you can without obviously like breaking security protocol, and just give some clarity and some context. That's all that was needed from day one.
Wish anybody harm. I appreciate the bravery of the Capitol Hill police. I was at the shooting at the ball field. I've heard 100 shots coming my way. Fortunately, none came to me, but I appreciate the bravery of all the people who protect us. But there's also the idea that there are certain mistakes that don't make you a bad person, but they're just inexcusable that if you made that mistake. So for example, let's say you determine, well, local police should have been on there and they told us, and local police says, no, they didn't tell us to do it. And it's a he said, she said. Still, ultimately, the agent in charge should be walking the grounds and say, there's a roof 100 yards away from the stadium with a clear sight. Someone's got to be on the roof. Local police, I told you to get on the roof. Get on the roof. Or you put the Secret Service. So ultimately, the buck doesn't pass along to somebody. Whoever's in charge is in charge. But really, I think it would be helpful to all of us. I know the process has to be meted out, but there needs to also be a process for protecting the next Trump rally. The fact that whoever was in charge in Butler next week is not in charge of a rally in Las Vegas. And so I think you really should say that. You should simply say that the leadership from that event is going through a process, but until that process, they won't be in charge of the Democrat National Convention. That would reassure a lot of people that they won't be in charge of security until it's determined. Can you tell us something to that accord?
Yes, sir. So I can tell you that the team planning the Democratic National Convention, that is a national special security event. That team has been on the ground. That's from DC with support from our Chicago field office. But I just want to reiterate that our Pittsburgh field office staff, they are wearing this harder than anybody right now in the Secret Service. They feel completely demoralized. And what I'm trying to do is also let them know that, listen, they need to be focused on the mission at hand. I also have to walk a tightrope here and make sure that I am not tainting any future,
from
discipline
point,
act.
I understand, and I have great respect for all the officers, but ultimately someone had to be in charge and someone made a terrible error, and it's an error of judgment. The big error is the roof. But another big error is we have 90 minutes of a suspicious person. Now, Senator Durbin mentioned the rangefinder. None of these are enough to shoot a suspicious person, but they certainly, you would think, would be enough to stop the proceedings. That's where I think you get to the second major management or judgment error of this. Now, Trump's done probably 100 rallies like this. How often at one of his rallies are there 90 minutes of looking at one person and at least a half a dozen pictures of that person? How often does that happen? And is it against protocol to let a proceeding go on when you've got a suspicious person, 90 minutes worth of people talking about this person, and we don't stop the proceeding? Does that defy protocol?
So Senator, so while there's 90 minutes in total from when he's first identified by local law enforcement, we have about a 30-minute window. But at no time is there anything ever communicated about weapon or harm. And I think that's where the threat.
A weapon, you shoot people with a weapon.
Sure.
Without a weapon, we're talking about people you stop and say, he had a backpack, which was probably big enough to have the AR-15 in it. In all likelihood, the backpack has the weapon in it. So a guy with a big backpack would never get through the perimeter. So once again, a big mistake was not having the perimeter wide enough to prevent people from shooting outside the perimeter. But the thing is, he would have never gotten through the perimeter, right? His backpack would have been checked. But people with big backpacks are very suspicious. And I would think he's been seen 6 times, but you got 20 or 30 minutes of knowing about it. But the thing is, there's all kinds of chatter going on about this. And you would think the chatter going on with the local police is on a police radio, and a policeman with that radio is standing in the control tent, so you get that communication. So there's a huge and massive breakdown. But really my question is, how often has this happened at other rallies where there's a half a dozen pictures and 90 minutes of people talking about a suspicious person? I just can't imagine that it's real common.
So Senator, at rallies, there are people that come to the attention of law enforcement for a variety of reasons. If they come to our attention for some other activity that might, put it a little bit, hey, we probably need to go check that individual out. This happens, and that's why we attempt to locate them. That's why it's important for us to try to find them. and it's important to have the information. And so local law enforcement did their very level best to try to locate him. They did provide us the photos 30 minutes prior. It's just he evaded any detection by law enforcement.
But once again, it's the overall person in charge. It's a terrible breakdown. It's a terrible management decision not to have stopped it. There was a chance to stop the proceeding. And the question is not whether there's enough information to take down an individual. It's a much lower standard to say, hey, we're going to wait. The roof and the 90 minutes of it, both I think are failure of your protocol. And I think when that's determined, the person who made these decisions can't be in a position of authority again.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for holding this.
So I'd say this is good. I'd say this is really, really good. First off, quick update, markets. NASDAQ is coming up to retest this previous support. Typically, a lot of the breakout traders will be looking to short here. So we could see like a short-term rejection. But then very soon after, we're going to get a sharp pullback into the range if it really, really is going to drop to this next level. So any like sort of rejections off the break and retest here are going to be short-lived, I think. And then we're going to see a deeper retracement back up to the 18,815 level if we're really going to see a drop. Okay, so your previous buy zones become your new sell zone. This is actually really fascinating. This guy's giving me a little bit more confidence in the Secret Service and kind of the direction that this is going than Director Cheadle ever could.
Was in the 2019-2020 timeframe. So it would have been in the couple years right before the Gab
right
message.
before that.
Yeah.
Are there other accounts that you all are currently verifying?
What type of audio is this? This ain't C-SPAN.
News as well.
There we go.
Okay. Well, my time has expired. Thank you for your patience today. Thank you for the information. We look forward to getting more information. And Director Rowe, we are going to hold you to being a change agent because things at the Secret Service absolutely have to change. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I want to thank our witnesses for your testimony here today. Certainly what happened on July 13th could and should have been prevented from what I have heard today. I'm certainly grateful to our witnesses for their candid answers and for helping to provide additional clarity and new information about the circumstances surrounding this attack. Acting Director Rowe, some of what you have said today conflicts with information and accounts that we have received from local law enforcement that we've had the opportunity to talk with. They have been voluntarily and I will say expeditiously cooperating with our bipartisan investigation, which we certainly appreciate. But we now need to speak with Secret Service agents directly, who are directly involved. And I would say that you need to make them available as soon as possible. Those interviews can't start weeks from now or months from now. Time is of the essence when memories are fresh and you can get the information that is most important to us. So my question for you as we wrap up this hearing, Acting Director Rowe, will you commit to having those agents available for this committee to interview as soon as possible in a matter of days, not weeks, matter of days?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. Certainly the American people deserve to know what went wrong and they deserve accountability for those security failures. And as we continue our bipartisan investigation.
So Mike, if you're asking yourself if they're really being serious about getting them in there, they keep trying to basically protect the field agents because this was probably a command failure more than it was a field agent failure. This was probably a failure of training, a failure of standards that they had at the Secret Service. And so even though it was the fault of the people on the ground, like the real blame is like, I think the Secret Service wants to protect their agents. And especially if Secret Service agents get in trouble, then it's the same thing as like when cops started getting in trouble for doing stuff on the line of duty. You stop getting people who want to go for that job. And then you get people who don't really have a choice but to go for that job, and you get the not the best. Okay. You want people to respect the Secret Service and not for it to have immunity from mistakes. The people higher up should take the responsibility and the blame. Because the people on the ground, you got to be able to attract the best of the best. And if they're like, well, if there's an operational failure from command, we're going to get the blame for it. The best of the best are going to go to another agency or to another department. They might go into the armed forces. So I understand the acting director's priority to respect his agents and to make sure that he keeps the morale at the Secret Service high so that they can keep doing their job. But also, I do respect him for, we do need answers. And so having them up at the committee hearing, I think is going to be very helpful. Those are the only people that have not spoken. The snipers, the local snipers haven't come on here. They had the police chief from Pennsylvania instead. And he did give a lot of good answers, but there was a bunch of stuff that they left for the FBI investigation. Christopher Wray did enough, but he just kept saying, we'll see after the investigation's done, even though he answered some questions. But we really haven't talked to the sniper teams, the ones who identified him first, the ones who never received a text message, the ones who apparently didn't have a briefing with the local sniper team. All those mistakes that were made, those need answers for. And if they tell us, hey, to be honest, standards at the Secret Service got so low, we didn't really care. It was hot outside, so we were standing inside and all this bullshit. We know that we need to clean out a lot of these agencies from the bad hires over the past 3-4 years and really bring in folks that are going to take the job serious and take security seriously. Because we ain't playing games no more. We got real ops out there, and we do need to have our agencies and our protective services on their best game. Now I'm looking for two people. I want to see Ted Cruz's questions and I want to see Hawley's questions because Hawley, they're like a combination of gotcha, but also because they've been in the game so long, they can't just gotcha with like simple shit. They have to do gotchas with real questions, and they usually end up asking some pretty hard-hitting questions. So I'm gonna see Hawley, Ted Cruz, and then we can probably call it a day. Before we jump into this, just a quick reminder, if you guys sign up for the NASDAQ Masterclass August 26th, you get to learn the strategy that we've been trading basically for the last 278 streams live on YouTube. If you secure your seats to the masterclass, you automatically get a free ticket to the FX Summit 2024 conference. That's valid until August 26th. So make sure you guys secure your seats in the masterclass, get that free ticket to the summit, and we'll see you guys out there in Dubai. Let's go ahead and finish this off. And last thing I will say, if you guys have to head out, is that we're just looking for this pullback on NASDAQ to the 815, maybe as high up as 875. And then we're going to be looking for that push to the downside. I won't be trading this. I'll be looking for the bullish recovery or waiting for tomorrow's Fed news to buy at the 18,500 level. Nothing here that was of real interest except for the consumer confidence, which came out way higher than expected and way higher than previous months. That's positive because consumer confidence is one of the earliest indicators for economic health. And so sentiment precludes spending. Spending precludes corporate earnings, and corporate earnings precludes GDP. And obviously the stock market going up. So if confidence is high, in a month or a couple months, we'll see retail sales numbers ideally follow that sentiment. And then we'll see the corporate earnings echo that sentiment. And then ideally, we see GDP reflect that in the Q3, Q4 numbers. Okay. Make sense? Joel's job openings, not too much of a change. We'll talk about that at some other time. The Bank of Japan policy rate, if there's any change in this, every yen pair will absolutely go crazy. So don't go asking around what's happening with UJ or GJ or EJ. The yen pairs will crash out of the sky. Anything that has a JPY at the end of it will absolutely crash if they raise this rate by anything, even if they just 0.11. If this rate goes up, this will be the biggest move we've seen in the yen probably since we've all been trading. So keep an eye on that. Big deal. Tomorrow, Fed meeting. I'll be live streaming in the morning for my predictions, and I'll be live streaming during the Fed meeting itself to break it down. Cool.
Radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service. Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
Whoa, sus. Guys, Are y'all still with me here on YouTube? Oh, we're still live. What just happened with the video? What in the C-SPAN? The video is private? Yo, 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 yo. Hold on, son. Oh, the event ended. I was about to say, hold on.
I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former
No, the only ones left are the ones with the shitty audio.
Director Rowe, I'm encouraged by your attitude and what you brought here today.
They're great people. You're a black hole. You lose the support of the American public.
Director Rowe, I'm encouraged by your attitude and what you brought here today, what you've talked about as far as immediate changes that you've made, and I hope you'll follow through with that. I'm encouraged by the fact that you acknowledge that it's indefensible that the
Come on, come on. The Hindustan Times? Yo, stop playing with me, bro. Oh my God.
Directly.
Anti-immigrant and.
There's a state.
Okay. Who is this? Washington Post? Shout out to Bezos. At least they have technology that works. I mean, they better with AWS, bro. I think everybody else just made the videos private so they can start clipping it up and get all the views for the clips. But it's like, bro, it just ended, man. Give it a second.
Real Clear Politics reports this morning that you were
Washington Post with the trash audio too? Yo, Jeff Beasy, man, come on.
directly involved in denying additional security resources and personnel,
If the audio is too bad, guys, just let me know.
including counter snipers, not just to this event, but over the last 2 years that President Trump's repeatedly asked for these additional resources, and you personally were involved in denying them. Is that true?
Senator, as I stated earlier, that is not true.
So you never denied any resources to former President Trump's team?
No, not me. No,
And-
sir.
And
Not
you weren't
personally.
involved in any of that? You
No,
were never
sir, I
involved
was
in the
not.
decision making?
No, sir, I was not.
Let me ask you just one or two other things here quickly. Well, whistleblowers tell me that in fact, law enforcement were stationed to be on that roof, and that law enforcement abandoned their post because it was too hot. Is that accurate?
Cool. Senator, I have heard that as well. Again, they posted up inside. And I think moving forward, as I said earlier, we're going to ensure that state and local counter snipers are on roofs.
But do you know if someone was supposed to be on the roof? Do you know if someone was in fact? That's what the whistleblowers tells me. That may or may not be accurate. Do you know that to be the fact? Was somebody posted to the roof, local law enforcement or whomever?
I do not know that to be a fact.
Well, can I ask you why you don't know that?
Again, Senator, we are looking at this and they should have been on that roof. And the fact that they were in the building is something that I'm still trying to understand.
I just want to express my frustration, Director, that 17 days or whatever it's been, that whistleblowers are telling us more than you are, and you don't know, you haven't ascertained if there was supposed to be law enforcement on the roof. That seems like a pretty basic fact. I'm also told that local law enforcement suppliers offered the Secret Service drones, and you declined.
This is why I said incompetence, because they said from now on, we're going to make sure that local law enforcement are on the roofs. It's like, was that not a protocol before? Because it sounds like from everybody else that's been testifying that it is a protocol.
Is that true?
So Senator, one, I've been very transparent and forthcoming.
Your agency has not been transparent and forthcoming, so please, let's not go there.
I have been forthcoming.
I also just got breaking news that Israel just bombed the south of Lebanon. This is not good. Sunday's bombing weapons depots. 4 hours. 2 days. It hasn't even hit the media cycle yet. That's how you guys know we got sources. We'll find it here in a bit, but that's not good. Hezbollah had essentially retaliated against Israel for an attack that was done in I think it was in North Gaza. There were some children that were killed, about 30 children that were killed. Hezbollah ended up sending some rockets into the Golan Heights region, which is a Druze province that's technically belongs to Syria. It's sort of recognized internationally as having belonged to Syria, but it's a very contentious place that is under the occupation of Israel, et cetera, et cetera. The rockets that were sent by Hezbollah had killed, I think, 10, 15 children while they're playing soccer. Israel, not happy about that. So retaliation was to be expected, but bombing inside of Lebanon, which is a foreign country, that is an escalation of war. That's a declaration of war, essentially. And we talked about it earlier this year. Containment versus escalation were the two themes. If we can contain these issues inside of the borders, there's a path to a ceasefire, there's a path to negotiations. Because at some point, both sides don't want to die anymore. Both sides don't want to keep spending money. Both sides don't want to lose their country. But if you start to go outside of your border, then other countries have to get involved. You start getting support from elsewhere, and it keeps adding fuel to the fire. And so any sense of escalation is worst case scenario right now. And I think not the intelligence, but the foreign policy community is going to be working overtime here to try to bring down the heat in that conflict. Because this escalation would be, I think, worst case scenario. Yeah. An attack on Lebanon would get everyone involved. If you guys want to see an example of this, in 2007, 2008, there was an attack on Lebanon from Israel. Luckily, Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, was in Lebanon doing a live tour, a food tour, and he captured the entire thing on camera, and that sort of showed that everyone's just minding their business, and then all of a sudden, bombs hitting, and it's not this whole storyline of, Lebanon attacked Israel, blah, blah, blah. It's really just people minding their business. There was some rockets sent from the borders, and that helped the international community promote that ceasefire and kind of get things under control in 07, 08. So anyways, not good. I'll keep you guys posted on that. An escalation of the conflict in the Middle East, again, would involve Iran and its proxies, Houthis in the Red Sea. That would disrupt trade again, which would bring up prices because supply chain disruptions is the easiest thing right now to drive inflation through the roof. If there's any disruptions in supply chains, prices will fly, and we're right back to square one with the interest rates. So big deal. Keep you guys posted. Let's get back to this hearing here.
Thanks, sir.
That remains to be seen. You've been on the job a few days. So far, you've fired nobody. Now, the drones.
Thank you.
Were you offered drones?
Senator
So there
Hogan.
was an offer to fly a drone on that day.
And why did you deny it?
Again, I think the ability of local law enforcement to provide an asset, we probably should have taken them up on it if it was offered.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rowe, thank you for being here. I agree with what you said at the outset that the individual Secret Service agents demonstrated remarkable personal courage, putting their bodies in between the line of sight of the shooter and the president. That being said, the bravery of the line agents is quite different from the decisions of Secret Service leadership. Secret Service leadership committed catastrophic security failures. Indeed, the worst security failures for the Secret Service since 1981, since the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. It is incumbent upon this committee to determine why those security failures happened. Just after the shooting, Secret Service put out an official statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources, that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed.
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about the media reporting of assets requested, there are times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
So I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph, top officials of the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination. according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right? That repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets are requested. There's a process that is made. And
how many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
I can get you that number in a queue.
You don't know now.
So I can speak to the ones that reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
But you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since 2021 that the former Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way, did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
As this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he still have a job?
Employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, does she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements, they do deconflict them and they put them out.
Did she approve this statement?
I don't know if she did or did not.
And you don't know if you did either?
I don't recall approving it, Senator.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the Trump detail and every response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
Let me ask you something. And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the Washington Post?
Yes.
The process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between.
The thing is that you got to keep in mind, Mike, is up until this point, the Secret Service was the #1 security detail in the world. So when you're talking about who protects the CEOs of major companies and major oil corporations, who protects who protects Elon and his family and some of the highest profile targets there, you have extremely competent private actors that came from the public public sector. They came from government agencies or the military. The Secret Service is the best of the best of the best. The IQ tests, the cognitive ability tests, the physical fitness tests, they really do recruit the highest integrity people. So they're supposed to have, they're supposed to be the most capable. And so I think there has to be a combination of both. There's got to be a combination of Secret Service detail that's the primary, because obviously they have insights and they're above the law. You understand? Security details, private security detail are not above the law. You've seen a celebrity have his own security somewhere and the club security, and they start beefing, and the club security is still going to kick you out, and the police show up, and you're not above the law. Secret Service is above the law. That's the difference. So you kind of have to have a combination of both. I would say Eric Prince or Tim Kennedy and some of their private companies, they'd be able to do the reconnaissance, the intelligence, they'd be able to scope out and do the game planning. And then you would have the Secret Service actually be able to enforce those directives. So I think that would be you got to have your eyes on there that are the private guys that really care about this shit. And then you got to have Secret Service.
Okay, so there's a bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy, Senator.
It's
It's
the
a
person
process.
that's a decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or nay.
So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle...
Mayorkas is the one that denied RFK he's the head of the Department of Homeland Security. He's the one that denied RFK the security details from the Secret Service.
Was murdered by an assassin. Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what?
I'll get to your answer, Senator, if you allow me to.
Appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person
That's why I wanted to watch
the Trump request
Ted
that
Cruz.
also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, There is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Is there, does
That
the
is a
buck stop anywhere?
bicameral, that
Does
is
the
a
buck stop
bicameral,
anywhere?
bipartisan process.
They're both right. Okay, so if you don't have above a certain percentage of the polling, you technically are not automatically granted Secret Service protection. The thing is, we've provided Secret Service protection for literally people who there's Secret Service protection for people who really don't deserve it. RFK has had multiple assassinations in his family. He is one of the leading candidates. And if the Democratic Party had not essentially stolen the nomination from him, and by not putting him on stage and given it to Biden, he would have been one of the leading candidates in that party. So you have somebody who's had 2 assassinations in their family, who's one of the leading candidates, and they're just saying, oh, it's a process, it's a process. What Ted Cruz is trying to ask is, who is the central figure? Who's the face that we can point to and say, you're the one who denied RFK. You're the one who denied Trump the extra Secret Service detail that he requested. And who can we hold responsible for making these politicized decisions to put the country at risk? And this guy's trying to protect his agents and protect the integrity of the Secret Service, because if he comes up here and he's like, yeah, the Secret Service has become politicized. Imagine all those men and women with integrity in the Secret Service being like, I don't want to work for an institution like this. I'm going to go find somewhere else that actually respects integrity. So he's trying to maintain that while knowing that this was a major fuck up. And obviously, all these agencies have become politicized because they're all under the executive branch. So they're all at Biden's behest, all the way from the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, the Department of Homeland Security, and then all the intelligence agencies below that, the FBI and the Secret Service. All direct reports to the President of the United States. So
It's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What
for a candidate,
you
for
are
a
not a
candidate
Congress. You don't have a cameral.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the question. Let me ask, because the failures on that day were catastrophic. By the way, is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent for President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not true. There was one airport agent that actually went on the manpower request for the Trump detail. They handled the arrival at the airport.
What was the relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the President or the First Lady?
Senator, the former president travels with a full shift, just like the president.
What's so the exact same size? Is that your testimony that President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only
Hold on, you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding. That's
yes
what
or
you
no?
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2x, 3x, 5x,
National
10x?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike. Sir,
I'm not
there are other assets.
How many more
travel
agents?
with the president that
Sir,
the former president will
you are
not.
okay, you know what? Actually, I have to side with the Deputy Secret Service Director on this. Damn, I don't know. I must be a fucking moron. I didn't even know how I missed this. You guys know in a superhero comic or a movie, what's the biggest weakness of any superhero? I'm not even like a comic book head, but everybody should know this. If you want to get to one of the superheroes, what's the first thing you take from them? The girl, right? So when they're saying, why did Jill Biden have so much Secret Service protection? And he's saying it's constitutional authority and its executive powers to launch a nuclear weapon. So if you have Jill Biden, now you have a point of negotiation. So now it kind of makes more sense, even though the future does rest on, like, when we're talking about the importance of the country and how people will react on the streets, Trump is way more consequential than Joe Biden for sure. When you're talking about who's more consequential in terms of being a threat if they get kidnapped, for the president to not be coerced or blackmailed, you're looking at anybody in his orbit, including his wife. So now They're making a good argument, and Ted Cruz has to kind of walk himself back because he's looking kind of stupid. Let's see how Ted Cruz digs himself out of this one.
Refusing to
But the
answer
number of
straight-
Secret Service
Sir,
agents
stop interrupting.
protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You are
Senator.
refusing to answer clear and direct questions. I am asking the relative difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2x? Is it 3x?
See, he shifts from like the important. This is what I hate about the politician again. He shifts from the important point, which is that there's a disparity between the number of agents assigned to both. Okay. He addressed that because there's a priority of one because of the threat and the executive power to launch nukes. But now he's like, no, I didn't say that. I want you to tell me the exact proportional like percentage and number for the difference between both. Dude, this is not a fucking science experiment. There is no proportional percentage. They assigned local agents based on the threat, the level of protection, and the, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just stupid, dude.
Is it 5x? Is it 10x?
Senator, I will get you that number so you can see it with your own eyes.
Senator Marshall, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, he handled that shit like a boss, man. I like the
Director
Secret
Rowe,
Service director, man.
There was probably 10 buildings with.
And this is no disrespect to Cheeto, because like honestly, nobody needs to be in that position where you're just literally throwing the entire country is coming at you. But you can't be out here as a Secret Service director quivering your bottom lip on some like, I'm sorry, like I didn't know, whatever. You got to look Ted Cruz right in the face and say, like, Ted Cruz is like, stop interrupting me. It's like, all right, go ahead. That's a little power move right there. Ted Cruz said, stop interrupting me. And then Deputy Secret Service gave him permission to continue. He said, all right, go ahead, continue. And Ted Cruz did continue. I don't know, man. This guy knows how to play. He ain't letting people push him around. He's trying to protect his agents and the integrity and the morale at the Secret Service right now, where if it gets shattered, we're going to lose a lot of good people. And I don't know, man. If they keep pissing him off, maybe he won't get them the info they need. So he better, everybody, let's just cooperate so we can all get to the bottom of this shit. And I think that's the best way to go.
Within sniper range of President Trump on that afternoon. Why was the building being used by the sniper not in the security zone?
That's a question that I've asked, Senator. There was a decision that we were going to construct the site and it was going to maintain within the Butler Farm site, Butler Farm Show site. That building, that AGR, was right on the curtilage of our outer perimeter. And it's something that I, again, having been there and walked it, I had a hard time understanding.
So there's no protocol that says anything within 300, 500 yards, direct line to the president should be in or out of the security zone. There's not a protocol that describes that.
So, Senator, what we try to do is we try to either control the high ground or mitigate line of sight concerns.
Okay. You've stated that on.
So I don't know if that's a truthful answer, because let's be honest, y'all. You don't think our enemies are watching all this stuff. So you're not going to straight up say like, yeah, we have a very strict protocol that anything within a 210-yard perimeter is this and that. Like if they do have that protocol, I don't think that he would say it here. But if they genuinely don't have a protocol like that and they're kind of going by discretion, which is we want to get the high ground, we want to have all points of contact in sight, that's too discretionary. And that's why if there's a command failure there where somebody did not spot the most obvious fucking roof on the entire perimeter, is because there's no standardized, there's no SOP, there's no standard operating procedure that actually quantifies what you're supposed to do. It's like trading. You can't just say, yeah, I'll take the trade like around the lows. What the fuck does that mean? Because if you're just going to say around the lows, it's going to look different every time you're on the charts. Because you're going to show up a different person all the time. You're going to be tired one day, awake one day. You're going to be hyper one day. You're going to have shit going on. You're busy. So you got to have a standard operating procedure that's quantifiable that you can follow, because you're not going to get consistent results without a consistent strategy. So I don't know what the hell they're doing here, but if we can run a trading system with more efficacy than they can run the Secret Service, then I think we have a problem. Walter said 88. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. But also, speaking of 886, we're retesting now as resistance. So I think that if we just stay in that area and close below, this is going to be the next push to the downside. If we close above and kind of engulf this previous 30-minute candle here. So if we do engulf and close above this wick here, then we're just going to see a retest and then a push back up inside the range. Okay, so this closure is going to be crucial. but I think that sellers are not done yet, especially based off the body of the candle closure below the daily low, solid, and then we also have some retracement. Now, higher time frame, we're at a daily zone, and when you're talking about daily support levels, all right, sometimes the market will kind of go a little through the zone before it wicks back up. Members, this is the only thing I'm really watching is y'all know the fibs. Okay, y'all know the fibs. So if we stay above that zone, we can see a massive push to the upside. If we break down to the bottom, then it's 18,500, and I would actually be very happy with that 18,500 level. All right, so we'll keep an eye on this.
Multiple occasions, President Trump's team was denied more of a detail, more assets. Who denies that? Who's the person that denies that, generally speaking?
So Senator, there's a process. Again, there's a conversation had with the details.
There's got to be a buck stopping. There's got to be someone. Who is the person? Is it a level within the DC agencies? Is someone in the Pittsburgh office? Who denies this?
It has nothing to do with the Pittsburgh office,
Okay.
sir. It is a conversation between not only the detail, the field office, but also.
I don't want to know the conversation. I want to know who makes the decision.
The decision, sir.
Not gonna lie, that dude is off the fucking yay. Buddy been chilling with Hunter Biden. Did y'all see this dude's eyes? What the hell? I mean, look, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. I'm not even complaining. But y'all, let me rewind this for you. This dude is this dude about to get an investigation coming from the Secret Service.
Our logistics files into.
So
now we know that bag that was left in the White House that they couldn't tell whose cocaine it was. I think now we know whose it was.
That makes the decision.
It is a staffing and assignments officer.
Okay, is the Secret Service required to do a briefing with all entities of law enforcement involved in the event of the days leading up to the event and the day of the event?
We do a police meeting, sir. As it
Describes that.
So, Senator, what we try to do is
Whoa. All right, that was a little too obvious. But
or mitigate.
Involved in the event of the days leading up to the event and the day of the event.
We do a police meeting, sir, where we start the.
What's required? Is it required? Is it part of your standard operating procedure?
The police meeting is what in New York office.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to find the part where he presses him on who is the decision maker here. I know I kind of went a little bit further ahead.
So, Senator, what we try to do is we try to either control the high ground or mitigate line of sight concerns.
Okay. You've stated that on
James, he paid about 20, 30 grand for those veneers. He's going to show them off. All right.
multiple occasions, President Trump's team was denied more of a detail, more assets. Who denies that? Who's the person that denies that, generally speaking?
So, Senator, there's a process. Again,
Mike, Christine, you guys saw that too, right? I
Details.
just want to make sure I'm not
There's
bugging.
going to be someone. Who is the person? Is it a level within the DC agencies? Is someone in the Pittsburgh office? Who denies this?
It has nothing to do with the Pittsburgh office,
Okay.
sir. It is a conversation between not only the detail, the field office, but also.
I don't want to know the conversation. I want to know who makes the decision.
The decision, sir, is, it's our process between the Office of Protective Operations and the Office of Investigations.
Is there a title for this position?
It is called we affectionately call it the War Room, and it's where all of our logistics files into.
He said the position. He's like,
Makes the decision.
he's talking about a war room. Dude, this guy does not want to answer. Yo, who is responsible for denying RFK? And who is They don't want to throw Mayorkas and Barr and Garland under the bus. But those three, head of the DHS, head of the Justice Department, and who else I say? Say William Barr, Justice Department, DHS, and Merrick Garland. Why am I spacing on this? Either way, those are the decision makers here, or Attorney General, excuse me. So the Attorney General is the one that made the decision, and so this acting deputy does not want to throw him under the bus. Yo, that's shady, shady, shady.
It is a staffing and assignments officer.
Okay, is the Secret Service required to do a briefing with all entities of
Staffing and Assignments Office of the Secret Service. That's the department. So someone's going to have to look into this. They're going to ideally subpoena folks. You can see the staffer in the back writing that down quick.
law
They're on it.
enforcement involved in the event of the days leading up to the event and the day of the event?
We do a police meeting, sir.
This is not a real time. It just happened about 20 minutes ago. I'm just going through some of like the more popular parts of the,
Where we start the.
What's required? Is it required? Is it part of your standard operating procedure?
The police meeting is what initiates the advance, and that is what is required.
Was this meeting held on that day?
The police meeting took place in the days prior to that.
Do you have documents of that meeting was actually happened?
If we do, sir, I will get them to you.
But you're saying that it did not happen on the day of the event.
So I think what you're referring to is a briefing that the state and locals would have done with themselves. We did a briefing with our own folks. They briefed.
When did you? Did your?
Oh, this is a big deal. There's supposed to be a cross briefing between the local police and the primary detail, which is the Secret Service. Not just everybody does their own thing and does their own briefings. There's supposed to be a joint briefing. That is standard procedure.
With local law enforcement the day of the assassination attempt.
Yes.
Okay. And you realize that the local law enforcement says no, that meeting never happened. And that's why we need to get these people in to talk to us. And this is why the FBI needs to be speaking up sooner than later and say that meeting did or didn't happen. Surely there's some type of documentation of that meeting one way or the other. Is there documentation of that meeting?
So Senator, I can tell you that our, what you're referring to is the counter sniper team seconded to Butler ESU. Our personnel met with the team lead from Butler ESU, and they discussed areas of concern, areas of responsibility, and that did in fact happen at the site on that day.
Director, I think you would agree with me that there were institutional failures the day of this assassination attempt. You have a $3 billion budget. You're still 2,000 employees short. And in 2022, the Secret Service had a 48% departure rate. That tells me you either have a cultural problem or just gross incompetence. Which one is it?
So Senator, I would challenge that 48% departure rate. Let me get you some statistics that we have. It is not 48%.
But go back to the multiple failures that we saw on an individual basis as long as systemic. I think it proves that there's either incompetence or some type of a cultural problem within the SS.
So Senator, I know you're not calling our workforce incompetent, and I know we do not have a cultural problem. If anything, we are dedicated to making sure that we don't have mission failure. And let me get.
Yo, first off, real one. Because there's no less competent group in the world than fucking senators and congressmen. Okay? Because if there were, maybe the country wouldn't just be progressively getting worse every single day. So clearly the most incompetent people in the world that work at Congress. And he's like, I know you didn't just call my people incompetent. What a boss answer, right? What a boss answer. I like, bro, stand up for your people.
You the hiring numbers that we have, because I think you will actually see that, no, we've actually done very well fairly recently with trying to make sure that we have the numbers that we need. Of course, we need more people. Everybody does. But let me get you those numbers, and I think let your own eyes.
Would you also disagree with me when it's reported that almost 50% of the rank and file officers don't trust leadership within the Secret Service?
Senator, I think it's the right of every worker to talk bad about their boss.
Thank you. I yield back.
Senator Hirona, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Boss ass answer. Again, they can talk shit about us if they want, as long as they stay true to the mission. That is, like, these guys are not, they're not supposed to be human. They're supposed to be machined, right? At least when they're on the job. When you ask them a personal question about what they think about what somebody said in some politics, they're supposed to answer with, my job as the Secret Service director is to maintain the integrity of the Secret Service and protection of all of its assets. Not to get involved in politics, he said, she said. That's the correct answer and the only answer. You as a trader need to be a robot, right? What would a computer do here? Well, maybe it could go up and maybe it could go down. No. What is your standard operating procedure? What is your, what is the mission? The mission is to make money with the least amount of risk and only take high probability trades that meet the criteria of my trading plan. Okay. And so when somebody asks me like, well, do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to go down? My job as the trader is to only take trades that meet the criteria of my standard operating procedure. Now, is that sexy? No. Is trading supposed to be sexy? No. And neither is the Secret Service. Also don't like how he called it the SS. Okay, the SS was the secret police force for the Nazis during Hitler's Germany, and they would go around rounding people up. So calling the Secret Service the SS, that one made me feel some kind of way. I really didn't like that.
Clearly, there is a lot that the Secret Service has to answer for in this such easy.
The tremendous work you
Speak out about the culture at your agency, and I think it is very
answers. I know you're frustrated. The interviews go through, but there was a massive failure with the fact that we couldn't have communicated, covered President Trump.
Tillis asked pretty good questions, and then so does Senator Blackburn. She always asks pretty good questions, so I'm looking forward to both of these real quick, and then we'll call it a day. And that's a longer stream than what we normally do, but I got no meetings today. Figured I would do a late stream, better late than never. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed some of the commentary or learned anything. Again, last reminder for you guys, August 26th is the master class to learn the strategy that we trade live, the same trades that we called out yesterday on the live stream, the sells and the longs ended up playing out. And then now we're in this next wave of this move. If you guys want to learn how to trade NASDAQ, head over to chartaddictsfx.com, link in the description. You get a free ticket to the FX Summit Conference with your purchase of the masterclass. Don't miss out on that opportunity.
Try to secure the situation. I'm going to let the investigation go through, but I think it's go forward. I think it's very important to point out that we can't let a scenario go in the future where 20 seconds can lapse when a law enforcement officer within 2 football fields of a former president of the United States has material knowledge that somebody's about to get shot at on stage, and we don't have instantaneous response. You know, in the old days, maybe you just shoot a gun in the air. I know for a lot of reasons why they didn't do that, but there had to be some way to actually diffuse that situation. It didn't happen on July the 13th. I just want to end by saying, Mr. Rowe, I think you've been forthcoming in your answers. I know you're frustrated. I've seen you twice now. You're clearly embarrassed by what happened. You don't think there's any reasonable explanation. And to my colleagues who are worried about communications, they should spend times in their local government and state legislatures to understand just how bad communication is between law enforcement and first responders. We need to invest in this infrastructure. That was also a part of the failure. But if you can please get to me and get to this committee a chronology of requests, accepted, denied, and the reasons for, I think that's going to be very helpful.
I will, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Blackburn, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to each of you for your patience and for being here today. Director Rowe, I want to come to you first because a counter sniper has decided to speak out about the culture at your agency, and I think it is very telling. And he sent an email, and I'm going to quote from that. If this agency needs to change, and if not now, when? The next assassination in 30 days? But here's what I want to talk with you about, because in this email, he says, and I'm quoting again, the motto of the USSS is CYA. And every supervisor is doing it now. That's the end of his quote. So you're the guy in charge. And you're one of those supervisors. You've been a career guy there at the Secret Service. The public has lost trust in the ability to execute the mission to protect. And I want to know how you feel about the fact that employees in your agency are worried about covering their behind and not worried about protecting a former president.
Oof.
Thank you, Senator. So
told y'all, man, she always comes with the hitters, bro. How do you feel about the agents in your, or how do you feel about the agents in your agency that are more concerned with covering their ass than about protecting the president? Yo, son.
So I'm hurt by that email, but not in the way you think I'm saying it. I'm hurt because my people are hurting right now. We need them.
Then why did somebody delete the email?
I'll get back to you on that.
The agency deleted the email.
But
it wasn't the agency. It was we always have to kind of remember, and this is why I appreciate this dude stepping up and actually giving some fucking confidence for these agencies, which is the people that sign up for this stuff. They are the best of us. The people that are the on the ground agents, like they're willing to put their life on the line. They're sacrificing their family, the fun, all this type of stuff to secure the country while we can fuck around and do whatever we want to do on on the weekends or whatever. So we do need these agencies, and like they're saying, it kind of seems like they have a recruitment problem, not just in the military, but in the intelligence services too, because of the sentiment around working with the government, et cetera, et cetera. And like all the good people, they know that if they go into these agencies, they're going to be at the behest of some politicized agenda, and they're not going to be able to protect the country. Instead, they're going to be basically carrying out the agenda of whoever is in charge at the time. And it's usually going to be a politicized agenda. So I understand the deputy directors like trying to urge her to remember we need these people. So let's not sit here and just shit on the Secret Service. And let's not say the Secret Service deleted the emails. Let's subpoena whoever is responsible for deleting those emails and hold the bad actors in these agencies accountable for once, so that they stop throwing their agencies under the bus to protect themselves. Fauci doesn't throw science under the bus to protect himself. He takes the blame. Like, don't throw science under the bus. Don't throw the Secret Service or the FBI under the bus because there's like 4 or 5 politicized people that are running the show and kind of dragging all the agents along for this Barnum and Bailey circus. So I don't know, man. The more and more I hear from this guy, I actually have a little bit of confidence, but it all depends on every promise he's made to these senators, which is I will get back to you with this information. I'll make sure that we include this in the report. They need to have a follow-up to see if they actually got this information, because they tried to get information on one of the assassination attempts that was like 3-4 months ago. They never got those reports back. They tried to get reports on the Epstein files, which was like a year ago at this point, more. And they've subpoenaed anybody, and they've all said, we'll get back to you on that. And they've not submitted any of those documents. So words are great. His tonality and trying to protect the agency is great. If he does not submit the relevant information, then he is just as culpable as everyone else, and we're back to square one. Okay, so this is really how the game works.
May I address your question? And
Yes,
I will get back to you
please.
as to whether the email was heard. Emotions are raw. I actually want to hear more from that UD officer, that technician. In his email, he referenced that he had spent time serving our nation as a United States Marine, that he is a 20-year professional of the Secret Service. I am committed to being a change agent, meaning I am committed to reviewing some of these things. I looked at the points in his email very quickly. I saw it as I was on my way over here this morning. I want to have further conversations, not only with him, but also the counter
If I may
supervisor.
step back in, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you want to talk with him. What about other whistleblowers? What about this culture? Are you going to allow these whistleblowers to speak out? Because it is troublesome if somebody went into the server and deleted that email. I would hope you will get to the bottom of that and be able to provide some answers. Because this is, as you have heard from both sides, this is a situation that cannot be allowed.
I'm just going to add this commentary because I have to hop off. But this is the last thing I'll say, is that we've kind of lived in an environment over the last, I don't know how many years, and it's really been on and off. I think Trump really was a change in this culture where the government gets to get away with everything. And it seems like they're unstoppable, and you can't possibly beat the FBI and the CIA and the executive branch. They can really do whatever they want. But then you realize they really just have 4 or 5 plants in each agency, and they're sort of like politicizing each agency. And at some point when the tide shifts, whatever shady stuff you're doing that comes to light is always, the truth will always out. So that's why these folks, it's like the one who deleted the emails and all these different things, they thought they were going to get away with it because they are the top of the food chain. They're the ones who investigate the investigators. And so they thought they were going to be immune from any of this stuff, and it always comes back out. So I like this culture shift. I like this shift of, I don't know if it's just Trump, but there seems to be a pendulum swing back to accountability, meritocracy, like functioning governments, order, as opposed to chaos. The world kind of flips between, if you guys ever know, yin and yang, the whole nine, everything is always trying to explain this cultural or this physical dynamic of chaos and order. And I think that we have gone through a chaotic period for a long time here. And I think that everyone is sort of ready for more order, more consistency, more reliability, more dependability, as opposed to just everyday things are different. And I get that like cultural progression and economic progression and social and government progression requires chaos, because the conservatism is to conserve the current ideals requires a little chaos in order to make the progress. But with that being said, at some point, too much chaos is what leads to the pendulum swinging in a complete opposite way. That old saying that if the liberals don't secure the borders, then fascists will. And so it's like, if you abuse when you have the baton, if you abuse it, when you have the torch, if you take advantage of your leadership role, then when the pendulum swings back, it's going to be just as nasty on the other side. And I've used this example before with Andrew Tate, where things got so pushed to the opposite side that he was a response to the cultural need for something opposite of what was happening. And so that he was the extreme on the opposite side, and he was able to swing the pendulum back to the middle, where people were like, well, that's a little too much, but a lot of that makes sense. And this is where we kind of meet in the middle. In this current environment of politicians are just kind of doing whatever they want, their sons and daughters are just doing foreign deals and getting away with it. You have the Justice Department and the Department of Defense and all these different departments kind of at your behest, working for you, politicizing their mission. Instead of protecting the country, they're protecting your ass. We've had a very fucked up bastardization of our government structure. Okay, Ted Cruz mentioned the bicameral legislator. The whole idea of having this structure is like Bitcoin. When the Bitcoin code was set up, it's perfect. The government, when it was set up by the founders, they really did look around the corner and say, okay, there's going to be a tyrant that wants to take over. There's going to be a president that wants more than 4 years or more than 8 years. And that's not good, because that's a monarchy or that's a tyranny. There's going to be, the executive power is going to have more power than the Congress, which is the representative of the people. And so we have to create this sort of like tricameral legislature, which has not legislative, but tricameral government that has the judiciary, the executive, and the legislator. And these are all separate, but there's a checks and balances between powers. It really was set up in a good way. Now, because of years and years and years of corruption, they've been able to add so many statutes, limitations, little weaselly ways for the executive to gain more and more power, or for the legislators to be able to hold more control. And now the whole game's gone messed up. So I like this pendulum swing back. I like the deputy director using the word change agent, because that's a big responsibility. You're going to be the one to set things back to where they're supposed to be, but you better not fuck this up. Same with every other department, is once we start seeing the word change agent, it better mean bringing things back to a meritocratic, to a lawful and orderly and structured system. In our the reason that these organizations need to be structured is so that our lives can be free, right? Because if they're chaotic, then they're just going to end up over-regulating the people, because they can't manage all the things happening. So they got to get their shit together so that the people can live in absolute freedom and enjoy the fruits of what this great country has to offer. They better stop fucking it up. I'm gonna have kids here soon, right? Not that soon. Don't trip out. I have kids here soon. I want to make sure that the country is better off than when we left it. All right. Roy, I know you're shadow banned now. The discussion on politics, it's not your language. You call bullshit when you see it. To be honest, I think YouTube has actually relaxed their policies a lot. Unless you're mentioning things that are like mainstream considered conspiratorial, then you're gonna be good. And again, guys, I don't give a fuck about any of these platforms. The First Amendment of America guarantees me the right to free speech. My family ain't leave Lebanon so we can come here and then have to be under the rule of Mark Zuckerberg. You understand? Okay, if Mark Zuckerberg wants to stop me from saying what he wants me to say, he can fucking do it to me in person. All that jujitsu training ain't gonna help. So in America, you have the right to say what you want, and you better fucking act like it, because the rest of the world cannot. And that's a luxury that we enjoy. And people in America are now so scared of losing their job or whatever else that they are no longer able to speak their mind, become subjugated. And that's that George Orwell 1984 quote is the last request of the party was for you to ignore your own eyes and to ignore reality in front of you. That was their last and final command and their most important command. I ain't falling for none of that bullshit, bruh. If I see some bullshit, I'm gonna call it out. My eyes ain't lying to me for nothing. That's the whole point of trading. Trading is this institutional mechanism that is trying to convince you that certain things are happening by, either forming smaller time frame patterns or creating sharp market movements that drive traders to just chase momentum or whatever. And if you can see through the bullshit and see reality from the noise, see the forest from the trees, you can be a good trader. And you can see what's happening in the world, and you can see what's happening around you and with the economy. You're not going to let media narratives bullshit you. As a good trader, there's always going to be narratives, stories that the market is telling. Recession is coming. Powell is going to cut rates in September. These are narratives. And then there are mechanics and there's dynamics. These are real things. These are physical forces that when you press a lever over here, something else moves. And so you have to look at the reality. You have to look at dynamics versus narratives. And you can't allow, you just can't allow the zeitgeist or the groupthink or the crowd behind the hive mind to cloud your ability to see the world for what it is, as opposed to some diluted idea of what you wish it was. That is what a good trader does. A good trader can see the forest from the trees. So if you're not doing that, if you're still living in some comfortable delusion because it's more comfortable for you and you don't want to admit the way reality works, trading will be ever more difficult for you, because you'll always see on the charts what you want to see versus what's there. It's like a Rorschach test. All right, we've gone way too far, y'all. It's 2:11. Happy and safe trading. If you guys want to learn this day trading strategy that is guaranteed to take your trading to the next level, head to the link in the description of the YouTube, thing. It's in the thing. chartaddictsfx.com live classes, August 26th. Get your free tickets to the FX Summit 2024 conference by signing up to the masterclass, or just grab your tickets to the FX Summit and kind of learn from the best, get a holistic view of the future of finance. Order out of chaos isn't their motto. No, it's not. I believe that today the progressives and the Democratic Party is the party of chaos, and the conservatives and the Republicans are the party of order. Now, that does shift every about 15, 20 years. So it's not a party thing. It's just more of an ideal thing. Do you want to keep shit the same and make it, make that better, incremental improvement, or do you want to innovate? And those are the progressives. And so innovation requires uprooting, burning stuff down, creative destruction, right? That's the progressives. You can see the liberals kind of associating with that. Then you have the conservatives, which is really traditionally more don't change the way things are because I like the way things are, but then also no progress gets made and we also end up moving backwards. So there's a healthy medium between both, which is moderation. Moderates and libertarians are the backbone of this country. They are the deciders of the elections, and hopefully reasonable people will prevail. Not getting my hopes up, though, because it's America. All right. Love y'all. Crush it. Catch you guys tomorrow morning on the stream. Tomorrow is the Fed meeting, so obviously it's a big day for us. I've not missed the Fed meeting. We are 18 out of 22 wins versus losses for the last 22 Fed meetings. That is a crazy statistic. You can put that one on my tombstone, right? Roy, do you want to say great husband, great father, loving man? Is that what you want to say on your tombstone? No. Put the track record of the Fed meetings that we've won live on YouTube, trading live money in front of humans, live with pressure. That's what you can put on my tombstone. Rack it up, get the tallies going. Catch you guys tomorrow morning. Happy and safe trading. Get your money up, not your funny up. Click the link in the description. Peace. All right, Chart Addicts members, that's what happens when I drink a whole can of Bang Energy after the gym. No trade.